Angel Island is a 740-acre island in San Francisco. It is the largest island in San Francisco Bay. About 2,000 years ago, the island was used as a hunting and fishing site by coastal Miwok Indians. They lived in what is now Marin County. They reached the island by boats that were made by tool reeds. Some of the boats could carry 8 to 10 people. Miwok Indians built temporary camps here in Ayala Cove, Camp Reynolds, Fort McDowell, and the immigration station. Their houses were made of branches covered with mats of tulle. Ayala Cove, then known as Hospital Cove. In 1891, a quarantine station was built here, managed by the U.S. Marine Hospital Service. Any ships that arrived in San Francisco that thought to have passengers that has contagious diseases was brought to the quarantine station. The cove had 40 buildings that contained a 400-bed detention barracks, a disinfection plant, laboratories, and quarters for its staff. The quarantine lasts 14 days. Today, all but 4 of the quarantine stations had been bulldozed. In 1775, Lieutenant Juan Manuel de Ayala, a Spanish naval officer, landed here in Ayala Cove. Ayala and his men were the first Europeans to sail into San Francisco. In 1829, California was passed from Spain to Mexico. To encourage settlers to come to California, the Mexican government gave a large portion of land to settlers. In 1839, the governor of Mexico gave the island to Don Murillo Osillo, an aristocrat. In 1850, shortly after the Mexican War, President Fillmore made Angel Island a federal military reserve. Camp Reynolds. During the Civil War, the year of 1863, the U.S. Army was scared of Confederate attack on San Francisco, so they built temporary artillery batteries that had wooden gun mounts and earthen implements on Point Stewart, Point Knox, and Point Blunt. The Red Building is opened in 1904. This new post is called Camp Reynolds, named after Major General John F. Reynolds. Reynolds was commander of the 1st Corps. This was a hospital used to train Army surgeons. After the Civil War, the camp was turned into an infantry camp. It served as a station for Army recruits and troops campaigning against Native American tribes. In 1876, the camp housed 200 soldiers, and the post had a chapel, bakery, blacksmith, shoemaker, laundry, barber, trading store, and photographer. Fort McDowell, aka East Garrison. Detention and discharge camps were established here from 1898 through 1905. Activity grew on the island because of the processing of men on their way to and back from overseas duty during the Spanish-American War. In 1899, a detention camp was built for soldiers who had been exposed to contagious diseases at KuRuPt. This is the hospital. In 1901, the detention camp was relocated and a discharge camp was constructed on the gray site. The discharge camp was used to process soldiers coming back from the Philippines. Fort McDowell expanded into a recruit depot, built by military prisoners from Alcatraz. The prisoners built a 600-man barracks, a new hospital, a main hall, officers' quarters, a guardhouse, and other buildings. This is the 600-man barracks. In 1922, this fort became the overseas discharge and replacement depot. This fort managed the men leaving and coming from overseas. Also, this facility enlisted men returning from Hawaii and Philippines, and men from western states were drafted here to be processed. This is all Fort McDowell, a Nike anti-aircraft missile site. During the Cold War, 8 years after Fort McDowell was closed, the U.S. Army started building artillery emplacement. Nike missiles were ground-to-air missiles. Its purpose is to protect against attack by any mini bombers. Mount Livermore was planned for radar equipment. This was the last time Angel Island would be used for military purpose. Passports, set up embassies, green cards, certification of residence. The USIS was permanently closed in 1940. Here are some of the certificates. Chinese that were held here carved out poetry like these, and this is what the bunks look like, as you can see. In conclusion, Angel Island was a temporary home for Miwok Indians, a Mexican land grant, a military base, became a quarantine station, and an immigration station, and now a very important part of our history.
So the world is right.